Okay, so this is going to be my last guest on the show tonight. I saved the best for last. I'm talking now with who I tell everybody this when I describe you. I say the champ. The champ, Dom Johnson. My favorite player I ever coached. I know as coaches we're not supposed to say that we had a favorite player. But first of all, Dom, I started coaching you when you were 9 years old. Okay. Mm-hmm. Little League Baseball, I was trying to teach you to throw a strike.
Yeah, it was hard. You had a hard time.
It was a hard job. And so, but you ended up being a really good pitcher. You were really good and a good leadoff hitter, I might say. And so, but I started coaching you when you're 9, and then I had the privilege to coach you as a high school basketball player. And then fast forward into real life now, we're both grown men in our 30s, and you had a baby girl this past week. Mm-hmm. And when you have a baby, when you get married, whatever, I'm one of the first calls you make. Yep. When I do anything important in my life, you're one of the first calls I make. I was the best man in your wedding. Every time we get off the phone, we say, "I love you." So, you know, it's this whole thing is come full circle, and I'm just so proud of you, and so I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me.
No problem.
But I tell everybody, you're the champ, and I've coached over 20 All-State players. Toby and I tried to figure it up one day. It's like 24 guys that are All-State players, guys that have played Division I. I've coached Otto Porter, who's in the NBA now, and but I tell everybody, you are the best winner I have ever met in my life. And that includes my cousin Terry Bell, who I look up to immensely. But you are the best winner that I've ever met in my life, and we're talking Final Four basketball here.
Okay.
So we've talked to all these coaches. Now you're the head coach at Bell City, where you and I did all of those great things together. I tell you all the time, I owe you half my mortgage and everything else. I would not be where I'm at without you in my life. So, but you know, you're doing things as a coach. You got a young team. You guys are coming up. You're going to be good. But I want to come at this from a different angle with you, where I'm talking with these coaches, and I want to talk to the players now.
Okay.
The players who might be listening to this. Dom, you're the best winner I've ever met in my life. I'm going to tell a quick story about you. I could do like a 2-hour talk with you in basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Like I could talk all day, you know, because all my best stories are Dom Johnson stories. Your sophomore year, we won a state tournament.
Yeah.
Your senior year, we come back and win a state tournament. In between those 2 years, you had the worst game of your life. We played at the Sykes Fieldhouse in a sectional game against Clarkton. Clarkton played a good game. I'm not taking anything away from Clarkton. But like I said, I coached you since you were 9 years old. That's one of the worst games I ever saw you play. You missed all these free throws in the fourth quarter. We ended up losing by two or 3 points. When we got back to the gym that night, I'm sitting in my office just crying on my desk. I think I'm the last person in the gym. It's like midnight.
Yep.
All of a sudden, I hear a ball bouncing down in the gym. I walk downstairs. You're down in the gym shooting free throws, practicing for next year. The next day after school, you gather everybody up who you're going to need the next year. You get Randy, you get Tyler Victor, you get Jeff Liggins, you get your guys, Zach, Derek. You know, I'm going to need these 8 or 9 guys if we're going to make a run at it next year.
Right.
You started working the next day. Not me. That was not me. That was all you.
Yeah.
And so to my point, man, like you're the greatest winner, just the mental capacity that you had for just competitive greatness. You wanted to compete. Like you would come to open gym, Dom, and you would pick the worst 4 players in the gym and try to beat the other players. Like you would try to beat the starters. Like you love competition the way I love competition. Like that's why I think we got along so well is you love to compete. So going through this state tournament, now that I've built you up and talked so good about you, what advice, or I guess let's start from here. What memory do you have of that first run to state as a sophomore? When we won the state championship, what are some memories that you have that other guys might draw on for some strength or some advice or whatever?
Well, the biggest thing I remember is, we didn't start off very well as a team. As a group, we didn't start off very well. And when things started to click, I think it was about the Bernie game, was about 8 or 9 games into the season. When things started to click for us, you could tell we were going to be pretty good. And the biggest thing I remember is just like the things we had to go through as a group to get to that point. And, I wasn't playing very well. Eric wasn't playing very well. CJ wasn't playing very well. And I remember CJ picking me up saying, man, look, we're going to get better. We're going to win state, And that's what really drove my competitiveness, because CJ was a competitor. He was a
goodness.
And he was a talker.
Oh my goodness.
So
was he a competitor? That guy was
man.
That guy liked competition like crackheads like crack. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
CJ was a hyper, and I spoke to one of your other teammates earlier today. He's going to be on the show tonight, Kenyon Wright.
Okay.
Kenyon Wright, another just hyper competitor. You guys were such, at the time I was 23. I'm coaching you guys. I think I'm like John Wooden or Mike Krzyzewski. I think I'm like the greatest gift of basketball. But in hindsight, A, I had really good players. But B, I think just as equal as you guys' playing ability was, your competitive spirit was phenomenal. Just phenomenal.
Was awesome. Yeah. And I mean, every day you come to practice, man, you had to be mentally prepared to play against DJ. You had to be mentally prepared for that, because he's going to talk to you the whole practice.
He's going to.
And
he's just such a competitor. That's right.
He is. And so I remember him telling me that. And so on the way to state, honestly, it was everything that was going through my head, as a player, and for players that are listening, is you can do what you need to do. You've been doing it all season. And so the thing that ran through my head was that we've been doing this all season. There's nothing we need to change. Just go out hard and play together and do it for the ones that's on your team that you love and you care about, because you don't get a whole lot of time to play with them. And so that's the biggest thing I remember going to state, is just being able to do it with my friends and having fun and just doing the same thing you've been doing all year, and that's playing hard, playing together.
Absolutely. And you guys, that first run that we made through, I've got one memory from your sophomore year. This is a really funny story.
Mm-hmm.
We like you said, we start out the year slow, we get rolling, we start playing well, and the problem that we had was we had 6 kids who were really good, like starter caliber players.
Right.
And we had 4 other kids who really helped and played a lot. We had a 10-man rotation.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole thing was yourself, Eric Henry, and C.J. Hadley. You 3 were really, really good high school players. We could never get the 3 of you playing well at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have a great game and C.J. would have a great game, but Eric had a leg injury, so he was kind of struggling back.
Mm-hmm.
Then, Eric started the year out playing phenomenal. You were playing terrible for about the first 8 games. And to the point that my grandpa, who has passed away, he was asking everybody, like, David keeps saying this kid is going to be so good, but I just don't see it. I don't think he's very good. And I kept telling my grandpa, trust me, he's going to be all right. But trying to get you 3 on the same page was the whole problem. So we finally get rolling. Where we win the district. So we had played so well, and we're playing at this. Back then, there was a regional game at Cycle.
Yep.
There was one extra round of the state tournament, and so we're sitting there. We're about to come out for the starting lineups, and you have played by this point like 25, 30 games or whatever. And we're about to go out for the starting lineups, and I look down at you. You're sitting on the bench, and I'm doing that, like that little last-minute pregame that a coach does. Come on now, y'all, let's go. And I looked down at you, and I saw your jersey, and I said, Dom, your jersey is spelled wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And it was spelled B-E-L-L, Bell, but then instead of C-I-T-Y, they had mixed up the I and the T, and it was C-T-I-Y.
Yeah.
And so right before we ran out for the game, me, you, all the other starters are looking at your jersey going, how do we play 30 games and nobody has ever caught this?
Yeah,
but it's just funny how in those little moments, those little funny stories that I think that really, because we were on edge, and all of a sudden that let us have like a little laugh right before the game started.
Yeah.
It kind of loosened us up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I remember with you guys that group of guys, there was a certain personality on the team, and I think our whole team's personality really was Brent Thompson.
Oh,
Brent was such a funny guy, and Brent kept us laughing on the bus and everything. And Jason Rampley was another one, really funny guy. So that group had a certain personality. You were one of the younger guys.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can remember when we went back when you were a senior, you guys were older. You had been there before. Almost like business-like. You guys were just like, we're here. We're going to pound on you guys, and then we're going to get our trophy and go home. Like you, very, very business-like. You didn't care which one of the girls' teams was staying in our hotel, the way that maybe Brent and those guys did. So, you know, it's just you guys had a completely different mentality. And you said this before we came on the air and we're talking. What kind of memories do you have from the Final Four? Like, specific memories do you have as a player?
Man, the specific memory, like I was saying before, is, you know, right before we get ready to go out, you know, take the floor and start warming up, you know, I come out in the hallway to talk to you. And I'm like, hey, Coach, you know, this is the game we want to be in, you know. I said, you've been standing up all year. I said, I got this one. Just go ahead and take a seat. I got it. And you looked at me and was like, really? And I was like, yeah, don't worry about it, man. I got it. You were like, all right. You know, so it just, to me, at that point, you know, as a player, I was at the point to where I knew, you know, it's just, I don't understand. I just don't get it, you know, why I thought that way, but I just knew that we were going to win, you know, and my confidence was there, you know, being a senior, you know, you're older, and I just knew with the guys we had, you know, there was no way we were losing that game. We were so tough. We were mentally tough. Defensively, we were tough, and we had to be because, you know, we didn't have a lot of talent on that team, and so we had to be the toughest team. And so even with Randy and Zach and Tyler, we held ourselves to a higher standard when it comes to being tough. You know, when we went out and played people, we were going to be tougher than you. And so I think that was the biggest thing and the biggest memory for that group.
And I remember that talk that we had because, again, I've been coaching you since you're 9.
Yeah.
And I had come out to the pitcher's mound when you're 9, 10 years old and just ripped you, you know, and why can't you throw a strike? And you're crying. and, you know, I can remember, like, I've been getting on to you your whole life.
Yeah.
And I can remember you coming out in the hall just going, hey, I got this one. Don't even worry about it. Like, I got this one. And at halftime that night, you had 25 points. So, you know, you just, you know, if we had left you in the whole ball game, you probably would have broke the all-time record for points in the state finals. And so you ended up with 40. You had a good game. But to your point, that group was so mentally tough, so physically tough. You guys were strong. I mean, we lived in the weight room with that team.
Yeah.
And I can remember you guys just had this personality as a group. Again, you wanted to compete. It was almost like almost an intimidation factor. Like, you know, you guys, even before the game, just your presence, like Tyler Victor. I can remember him being back in the tunnel, and he's screaming, the champs are here, the champs are here. You know, like the other team can hear us, and Tyler wants them to know, like, yeah, we're here, and we are not losing this game. I mean, just you guys had such a presence about you, you know, that you had this it was a swagger, I guess, before the people even used that word. You had this swagger about you.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? And when they throw this ball up and we start this game, we're about to back it up.
Yeah.
You know?
And I that's probably that we weren't as talented as our first team, but I think we were way more tougher. You know, I think we were some tough kids. And it started with, you know, just us playing with CJ and Eric and them guys and them beating up on us, you know. It started with those guys, and you know, that they got to take some credit into that too, with Kenyon and Eric and Jason and, you know, all those guys. They they beat up on us and got us tough too. So.
Oh, you guys were definitely the beneficiaries of being the little brothers.
Yeah.
That you got to come behind a good group and got to be a part of it with them. But, definitely y'all were further along than they were because just as far as those things, you had experienced once already. And I just believe that, like I've talked to other people already today, we're going to have a big show tonight with our podcast. And I just believe that you only get to do this one time. And if people are listening to this podcast tonight, you're probably going to hear me say this over and over. This is the last interview of the night, so you've probably heard me say it a lot of times. But, man, I'll be danged. If I'm going to get up here, this is the only time I get to go, and I'm going to be scared.
Exactly.
I'm just not going to be scared because I may never get to come back again.
Exactly.
And it's like you said, I get to be here with my friends. I get to be here with my coach who I love, who I've grown up, probably grown up playing for. I know we've got some coaches we're talking to, Brian Minnie at Columbia Battle and Pete McBride right off the top of my head. They're coaching their sons on our team.
Oh, yeah.
You get to come here one time. Who knows if you ever make it back? You're for sure not going to make it back with this group.
Exactly.
Like you said, the first group was one group of guys who you loved and are still friends with. And the second group was a group of guys that were like close, like brothers,
Yeah.
And you're never going to play with these guys again. This is it. So man, I'm not going to show up and be scared. I tell you that.
No, you can't. You can't show up and be scared. I mean, you just got to trust in what you've been doing all year and know that it's going to work. And you've bought in all year. There's no need to change anything, and just enjoy it and have fun with your guys. With us, it was our boys. Have fun with your boys and go out and just play your butts off and do what you've been doing all season. So.
Yeah, that was our whole mentality was the toughest team wins.
Yep.
And we always felt like we were the toughest team. And the other one, and nobody outworks us.
Yep.
Nobody outworks us. And like I used to always tell you guys, when they reach for their car keys at the end of the night and they're walking back to their car, I want them to say to each other, I have never seen a group of kids play that hard.
Yep.
And if they can say that honestly to each other, like, man, I got my money's worth tonight because those kids played so hard. I don't know if I've ever seen it,
Right.
I might have seen better teams. I might have seen better players, but I've never seen anybody play that hard.
Right.
If they can say that at the end of the night, we did our job.
Exactly.
And we'll live with the results.
Exactly.
And by God, most of the time, our results spoke for themselves, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
They did. And they sure did. And so I tell you what, it's going to be a lot of fun over there in Springfield next week. The games are moving to Springfield.
Oh, really?
And they moved it to Springfield this year. And I don't know how I feel about that since the Mizzou Arena is like a mile from my house.
Oh man.
Kerwin and the guys they got me again, Dom. They got me driving 4 hours instead of a mile. So.
Oh man.
And so, but no, I think that Springfield. I am excited to see what they do with this because the local fans I know in Springfield, they have got some really passionate fans down there, and they'll come out. I think they will come out and support the Final Four.
Okay.
I'm excited just to go watch the games and see some people I know like always. And so, you on the other hand, my good friend, will be changing diapers.
Yes, I will. Did you hear what I just said? I didn't even know that the tournament was moved to Springfield. That's how engulfed in diapers I am right now.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, Dom just had a baby girl, and what's her name for all the listeners out there?
Her name is Laylan Legacy.
Laylan Legacy, and then your son, who's still young, not even talking yet. His name is
Christian Legend. Slade. Christian
Legend. And so, like I've told you before, you name those kids' middle names, Legend and Legacy, they better have some doggone game. Because if they got a name like that and they can't play no ball,
exactly,
they're getting made fun of. Just so you know.
I know.
You put a target on your kid's back. And so,
I know.
And hey, do me this favor. If you don't do nothing else as a father, this is a father, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You were one of the great left-handed point guards in the history of Missouri high school sports.
Right.
can you please teach your kids to dribble with the right hand?
Oh
please.
Yeah. I'm already on it. I'm already on top of it. You know, Christian's left-handed already, so I'm definitely on his right hand.
Real quick, funny story about you and your left hand. You know, you were so left-handed and dominant with your left hand. I mean, it wasn't like it didn't work. But this rumor and this myth started that you couldn't go right because between your junior and senior year, you went in to dunk one night on an open gym, and it's sweaty, a lot of humidity. Your feet go completely from under you. You fall on your right arm and try to brace yourself.
Yeah.
One of the nastiest things I've ever seen in my life. You completely dislocated your elbow.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are at home listening, if you just bend your elbow at a 90 degree, just imagine it going 90 degrees in the wrong direction. That's exactly what your arm did. It was completely dangling, unattached except by tendons and ligaments. Yeah. And so immediately I think your arm is broke. So I ran into the freezer. You walk back there with me. You're holding your arm, and I'm getting ice. And I take my shirt off, and I tie this ice bag to your arm. And while we're doing this, your arm snaps back into place.
Mm-hmm.
So then I took my shirt and actually tied your arm to your body to brace it.
Yeah.
We run out. We jump in at the time I had a Chevy Blazer. You get in the back of this. It's like July. It's like 100 degrees. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
You're in the back seat. You're going, Coach, I'm freezing. Turn up the heat. It's like 100 and something degrees. You're going into shock. So I'm speeding you to the hospital. And you're in the back seat going, Coach, I love you, man. I love you. And I'm just like, Dom, just don't talk until we get to the hospital. Yeah. Don't talk. Just shut up, okay? I love you too, but just don't talk. And so we get there, and miraculously, your arm was not broke at all. It was just going to take a lot of rehab and everything for your arm to get back to full strength.
Yeah.
Again, this is between your junior and senior year. So that whole summer, you just spent basically getting your arm back to full strength. But in the middle of that, we played somebody at a team camp or something.
Yeah, Three Rivers team camp.
And it was like Jackson and all these teams were there, and like they saw that you couldn't go right the way you used to be able to go right. And so this thing got like, he can't go right. So like your whole senior year, by this point, you could go right. You could go right really well. I always teach you about your right hand just because I feel like making fun of you, but it's you could go right. And so we would play these games, and they're turning you dead to your right. And here you are, a guy that can score 30, 40, 50 points. And you and I are looking at each other just laughing like, are they really guarding you like a seventh grader that can only go one way? Like, it was just, and so like 45 points later, we would be in the huddle laughing like, when are people going to figure this out that you know, they're going off of a scouting report like from July or something.
Right.
And so, you know, like I said, just one of the great winners, you know, ever, the best winner I've ever been around. Definitely, like I said, just the impact that you've had on my life and everything else, man. I appreciate you taking the time to do this, and I'm so proud of you for what you're doing now at Bell City there, and you're building off of what CJ did. Another one of my players had been a coach there previously, and I know CJ and you are good friends, and you're going to build off of what he did, and so just keep doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you. Yeah, like I told my boys, you know, you don't want to be sitting at home at this time of the year. I said, but we're young and we got to get better. And we got to get in the gym and we got to keep it simple. And so, and for the players that don't even get to go to the tournament, you know, you got 365 days to get back to this point. You know, start working now. You know, it's gonna pay off. It's gonna pay off. But I appreciate you having me on the show, Coach.
Yeah, we'll do it again. And listen, with those diapers, you know, don't leave them in the trash can. Take them outside, okay?
Trust me, I will.
Yeah, I got you.
I might package one up and mail it to you.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Real good.
All right, tell everybody I said, hey, it's always good to talk to you. All right, love you, boy.
Love you.
Okay, bye.